They say the Blackwell Asylum didn't close because of lack of funding. It closed because the doctors stopped being doctors, and the patients, well, they stopped being human. I never believed in ghost stories. To me, Blackwell was just a crumbling pile of bricks in the woods of upstate New York. A perfect place for a dare video. My name is Leo, and along with my cameraman, Mark, we broke in at 2 a.m. We weren't looking for ghosts. We were looking for the sensory room. A legendary basement ward where they supposedly conducted Project Silence. The goal? To see what happens to a human mind when every single sense is stripped away for weeks at a time. The air inside Blackwell was different. It didn't just smell like mold, it smelled like copper, old blood that had soaked into the concrete for decades. As we descended into the basement, my flashlight flickered. "Leo, look," Mark whispered. On the walls, there weren't just scratch marks. There were names. Thousands of names carved into the stone, so deep the person must have broken their fingernails doing it. But as we reached Ward 7, the carvings changed. They weren't names anymore. It was just one word, repeated over and over, listening. We found the sensory room. A heavy steel door, padded on the inside with rotting foam. In the center was a single chair with leather straps. And on the floor, a vintage reel-to-reel tape recorder. It looked brand new, as if someone had just placed it there. Mark hit play. At first, it was just static. Then, a voice. A doctor, sounding cold and clinical. Subject 42. Day 30 of total sensory deprivation. Subject claims he can no longer hear silence. He claims the silence has a voice. Suddenly, the audio on the tape changed. We heard a wet, tearing sound. Then, a scream, not from the tape, but from the hallway behind us. We spun around. Our flashlights hit the end of the corridor. There was a man. Or what used to be a man. He was wearing a tattered patient's gown, but his eyes, they were sewn shut with thick, black surgical thread. His ears were mangled, as if he'd tried to rip them off. He wasn't moving. He was just, tilting his head, like he was tracking the sound of our heartbeats. "Run!" I lunged for the stairs, but Mark tripped. The tape recorder was still blaring that horrific static. The man, the subject, didn't run. He teleported. 1 second he was 20 feet away, the next, he was crouching over Mark, his head twitching at a 90-degree angle. He didn't attack. He leaned down and whispered into Mark's ear. I couldn't hear what he said, but Mark's face went pale. He dropped the camera. Mark didn't even try to get up. He just stared into the darkness, his eyes glazing over. I grabbed Mark's arm, pulling him with a strength I didn't know I had. We scrambled up the stairs, the sound of bare feet slapping the concrete right behind us. I felt a cold, clammy hand brush against my heel. I kicked back, felt something soft crunch, and we burst through the main exit into the cold night air. We made it out. We didn't call the police, who would believe us? Mark hasn't spoken a word since that night. He just sits in his room, staring at the wall. Yesterday, I decided to check the footage. I wanted to see what the man whispered to him. I put on my headphones and turned the volume to the max. I found the moment the subject leaned in. But there was no voice on the footage. Just silence. And then I realized, the subject wasn't whispering to Mark. He was whispering to the camera. To me. I played it again. A faint, raspy breath filled my headphones. Thank you for bringing the sound back. Now, I can follow the noise home. I froze. My house is silent. But as I sit here, I can hear a faint, wet slapping sound coming from my hallway. Someone is walking. Someone who doesn't need eyes to find me. Because now, I'm the one listening. I used to love the city at night. The silence felt like a secret. But 5 years ago, on a Tuesday at 1:45 a.m., I learned that some secrets are meant to stay buried in the dark. I was walking home from a late shift, scrolling through my phone, feeling completely alone. I looked up, expecting to see an empty sidewalk. Instead, I saw him. A man. Tall, wearing an old-fashioned yellow suit that looked like it belonged in the 1950s. He was dancing. Or at least, that's what it looked like. A strange, stumbling waltz, swaying from side to side as he moved toward me. But it wasn't the dance that made my heart stop. It was his face. His head was tilted back, staring directly at the sky, with a smile so wide it looked like his face was literally splitting in half. I froze. I thought he was drunk, or high, or maybe just pulling a prank. I crossed the street to give him space. I didn't take my eyes off him. As I reached the other side, I looked back. He had stopped. He was standing perfectly still, his body facing me, but his face was still aimed at the stars, that horrific, frozen grin never wavering. I started walking faster. My heart was thumping against my ribs like a trapped bird. I looked back again after 50 yards. He was gone. The street was empty. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. Just a creep, I told myself. Just a weirdo. But then, I saw a shadow stretch out under a streetlight just 10 feet ahead of me. He wasn't gone. He had run, silently, while I wasn't looking. He was standing in the middle of the sidewalk, his back to me. Slowly, he began to turn. Not his body, just his neck. His head rotated until that smile was staring right into my soul. I didn't wait. I turned and sprinted. I didn't care how it looked. I ran until my lungs burned. I ducked into a narrow alleyway, hiding behind a row of industrial dumpsters. I pressed my back against the brick wall, trying to silence my breathing. The silence was absolute. Then, click. 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 The sound of dress shoes on the pavement. He was walking. Slowly. Deliberately. I peeked around the corner of the bin. He was standing at the entrance of the alley. He started to dance again. This time, he was spinning in circles, faster and faster, his arms flopping around like a ragdoll's. And the whole time, he was making this sound, a wet, rhythmic clicking with his tongue. TSK, TSK, TSK. He stopped suddenly and looked directly at my hiding spot. He didn't scream. He didn't growl. He just whispered one word, his voice raspy and high-pitched, "Found you." I scrambled out the other end of the alley and bolted for my apartment building. I could hear him behind me. He wasn't running like a normal person, he was leaping, like a gazelle, covers huge distances in single bounds. I reached my door, my hands shaking so hard the keys fell twice. I saw him reach the gate. He stopped. He didn't try to come in. He just stood there, tilting his head, watching me. I slammed the door, locked every deadbolt, and collapsed on the floor. I watched through the peephole for 3 hours. He stayed there. Just smiling at my door. When the sun finally came up, he was gone. I moved out the next week. I haven't walked at night since. I thought I was safe. I thought it was just a random encounter with a madman. But this morning, I was brushing my teeth, looking at my own reflection. I noticed something. My jaw felt sore. Aching. Like I had been clenching it for hours. I tried to relax my face, but I couldn't. I looked closer at the mirror. My lips, they were curling upward. Against my will. My muscles were pulling back, stretching further than they should. I tried to scream, but the only sound that came out was that wet, rhythmic clicking. TSK, TSK, TSK. I looked into my own eyes, and for the first time, I realized, he didn't want to kill me that night. He was just waiting for the smile to finish growing on its new face. I'm a collector. Not of stamps, not of coins, but of antique dolls. Some people find them creepy. I find them beautiful, tiny echoes of the past. One day, scrolling through Craigslist, I saw it, a listing for an entire collection of rare, French bisque dolls. The price? A steal. Too good to be true, honestly. The seller, a Mr. Blackwood, said he just wanted them gone. No pickup, though. He insisted on meeting at his house, far from prying eyes, as he put it. I should have seen the first red flag then, but the lure of the collection was too strong. The address led me deep into the countryside, miles from any main road. The house was unsettling. Old, paint peeling, surrounded by trees that seemed to lean in, watching. The front door was ajar, a sliver of darkness beckoning me inside. I called out, "Mr. Blackwood?" No answer. Just the creak of the floorboards as I stepped inside. The house was filled with dust and shadow. And dolls. Thousands of them. Staring from every shelf, every table, every corner. They weren't just antique, some looked recent. Too new for the house. The air was thick and smelled of old wood and something vaguely metallic. A chill ran down my spine. This wasn't just a collection, it felt like an obsession. I found a note on a dusty table, "Wardrobe in the master bedroom. Please find your selection." My heart started pounding. Why a wardrobe? And why did it feel like I wasn't alone in the house? I pushed open the master bedroom door. It was even darker in there. The window was boarded up from the inside. In the center of the room stood a single, massive, antique wardrobe. Its dark wood was polished, not dusty like the rest of the house. And from inside, I heard it, a faint, almost rhythmic scraping sound. Like something trying to get out that I hesitated, my hand trembling as I reached for the brass handle. What if Mr. Blackwood was playing a cruel joke? What if the sound wasn't a doll? I took a deep breath and yanked the doors open. Inside. It wasn't a collection. It was a single doll. Life-sized. Dressed in modern clothes. Its eyes were wide, vacant, but somehow, pleading. It was tied to a crossbeam, its arms outstretched, its mouth slightly open in a silent scream. And around its neck, a small, handwritten tag, "Property of Mr. Blackwood. Do not touch." My blood ran cold. My scream caught in my throat. I stumbled backward, away from the wardrobe. The sound of the door slamming shut behind me echoed like a gunshot. Click. The lock engaged. I was trapped. The room was almost completely dark now, but the doll in the wardrobe, its eyes seemed to glow faintly. And that faint, metallic smell was stronger here. Like fresh blood. Then, from the shadows in the corner, a voice. A low, gravelly whisper that sent shivers down my spine. "Looking for a bargain, dear? Mr. Blackwood." He emerged from the darkness, a grotesque smile on his face, holding a roll of thick rope. "I told you, no pickup. Because sometimes, the best pieces, they need to be delivered." He took a step closer, his eyes glinting in the faint light. "And you, my friend, you're a perfectly sized, perfectly preserved antique. A true collector's item. I remember the ropes. I remember the pain. But mostly, I remember the feeling of cold porcelain replacing my skin. The scent of drying paint. The terror as my vision faded, replaced by the hollow stare of a doll. Mr. Blackwood was right. I was a beautiful antique. And now, I'm part of his collection. I sit here in this house, silent, perfectly preserved, waiting. Waiting for the next collector to come looking for a bargain. Waiting for the next person to walk through that open door. Because you see, Mr. Blackwood never leaves the door closed. He wants the next collector to find the perfect piece. He wants them to come inside. And when they do, they'll notice the new addition to his masterpiece collection. A truly unique piece. Me.